Shalom and welcome to Secrets Revealed, the Holy Bible. Today we're looking at Numbers chapter 31. There are 54 verses. Beginning in verse 2, we see a big difference. It says here, avenge the wrongs of the children of Israel on the Midianites, and afterwards thou shalt be added to thy people. So the Septuagint, frankly, sounds like it's saying that Israel is at fault and they were the ones who committed the wrongs. The Masoretic says, avenge the children of Israel of the Midianites, which seems to imply that the Midianites are the ones at fault. However, the answer to this question, who is the one at fault, is verse 3. In both translations, it says, to inflict vengeance on Midian from Yah. So they're the ones attacking Midian to take vengeance on them. So it sounds like they're the ones who are really at fault. So it does sound a little confusing in the Septuagint, but verse 3 clarifies that. It says, set yourselves in array before Yah against Midian to inflict vengeance on Midian from Yah. And then it says in the Masoretic, unto the war, arm some of yourselves unto the war, and let them go against the Midianites and avenge Yah of Midian. Okay, it's a little confusing unless you read it this way. Avenge Yah, comma, of Midian. Not Yah of Midian. It's not like he's the Yah of Midian. He's not their Elohim. Well, maybe not at that time. He's the Elohim of Israel. Verse 4. Continuous difference we notice. It says, set themselves in array versus shall you send to the war. Verse 5, a big difference noted. And they numbered of the thousands of Israel versus so there were delivered out of the thousands of Israel. So it sounds like in verse 5, there was simply a large number of them that were ready to battle. But in the Masoretic, it sounds like there were delivered out of the thousands of Israel. So they were either delivered, either saved. It's hard to make sense of the word delivered unless you understand the context. But here the wording is numbered. They were delivered like they were saved out of battle, but they were simply numbered. This is the forces they're bringing. Verse 6, we see an omission. It says, with their forces was omitted, and signal, the word signal, the signal trumpets. So they're not simply just trumpets, they are signal trumpets. They are trumpets used to command the army to get them into formation, or to simply so they can understand what is going on, to communicate to the army. Their hands versus his hand. So in the hands of the sons of Aaron, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron. Okay, so it is Phinehas is the one seems to be holding the trumpets in his hands. Moving on to verse 10. For the verses I'm not reading, please look at the description box for the complete, the full differences. However, these are the significant differences in my opinion. So verse 9 is going to be ignored. Verse 10, we see the word here, villages. They burnt their villages versus goodly castles. Okay, moving on to verse 15. We see a big omission. In verse 15, it says, "Why have you saved every female alive?" Notice female could include young girls who have not reached puberty, perhaps even baby girls. It's hard to say, and even the elderly women. But it says here in the Masoretic, women. Why have Moses said, "Have you saved all the women alive?" So both are a question. However, Moses is asking, "Why did you do this?" He's asking them, "Explain yourselves." Instead of the Masoretic saying, "Did you do this? Confirm to me whether you saved the women alive." It sounds like Moses instructed them to save the women alive, and that's not what he did. Uh, so verse 16, it says, they were to the children of Israel by the word of Balaam of the revolting and despising the word of Yah because of Peor. And there was a plague in the congregation of Yah. Um, so we see that wording of the revolting and despising the word of Yah um, versus uh, to commit trespass against Yah. So one is much more serious. They were despising the word of Yah, which is the opposite of the fear of Yah, versus simply trespassing against. So one is definitely more serious and more rebellious, just outright rebellion, and has seems to imply a bit of an attitude as well when you are revolting and despising. Verse 18, we have a big difference as well. "And as for all the captivity of women who have not known the lying with man, save you them alive." Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. In the Maz, what does it say? "But all the women children," what? "The women children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves." Interesting difference. So we can see, I didn't note this in my notes, but just by simply reading it, you can see that the Septuagint is not discriminating on age. They could be young girls, they could be teenage girls, they could be young adult women, or even virgins who are older. The Masoretic is discriminating that they can only be women children. They have to be possibly prepubescent or teenagers or younger than that, anyhow, because these are children, as it's explaining in the Masoretic, which is a little interesting. Let's just leave it at that. Verse 20, "Leathern utensil and all furniture of goatskin and every wooden vessel," versus "all that is made of skins and all work of goat's hair and all things made of wood." Okay. Big difference in verse 22. It says, "Beside the gold and the silver and the brass and the iron and tin." Um, so this is, it says, "Eleazar said to the men of the host, this is the law of which Yah commanded. Beside the gold, everything shall pass through the fire." So, so these are the items that they describe. Everything except the gold, silver, brass, iron, and lead and tin. Uh, the Maz says everything that is not gold, um, everything else. But in the Masoretic, it's saying only these things and nothing else. Um, Actually, it's hard to really, now that I read it slower, it's a little bit difficult to come to that conclusion that it's only beside the gold. If it's saying only gold, everything that is not gold, meaning silver, brass, iron, lead, and tin, will go through the fire. However, I can frankly, I can see where people would read it this way to say that gold, beside the gold and the silver, so they're all one package. So I'm going to just edit that right now. I don't know if that's really truly different. I'm going to say possible difference. I'm going to say possible difference. It's not completely conclusive. Moving on to verse 27 now. We have an addition. It says, into two parts. Divide the prey into two parts. This is implied in the verse. And then in verse 29, we have the term first fruits used here versus heave offering, which is a set apart offering. Not simply a first fruits, but that's what the Septuagint is saying. Looking next at verse 30, we have an addition of all manner of beasts. All manner of beasts. That was not in the original text. And verse 43, we have an omission jumping all the way forward to 43. That's the next difference. It says, from the sheep was omitted. It says, in the half from the sheep. Sheep in the Masoretic is actually at the end of the verse. So it can be a little confusing as to what this half is pertaining to. But it does say, now the half that pertain unto the congregation, 300,000 and 30,000 and 7,500 sheep. So it is talking about sheep, but it simply puts that word at the end of the verse. So it's omitted, but is included towards the end. Verse 47, cattle versus beast. The only reason I bring this up is because in the Old English, when you say cattle, you mean the livestock. It doesn't mean only cows and bulls or calves, anything that's a cow. That's not what it means. It means livestock. So when it says beast here, it's not particularly wrong. It's just that our understanding of this word and its definition has evolved and doesn't just include cattle, like literal cows. It means all livestock. Verse 48, we're omitting. Oh, not we're omitting. It says there's been an omission here. All those who were appointed to be officers. So they weren't simply volunteering, they were chosen, they were selected to be the officers. That's an important distinction. Verse 48, we see here, same verse, found versus gotten. So they found, oh, never mind, that's not that verse, is it? I think it's verse 50, okay. Verse 50 is the verse we're looking at. It's found every man who has found an article of gold versus every man who has gotten. So they could have acquired it. It's hard to say whether how they found this gold or how they got the gold, but it's just it's described in different terms. Or maybe perhaps you could say who were found with gold instead of them finding the gold. But anyhow, they do have gold. It's in their possession. Continual difference is article of gold versus jewels. So they use the word article instead of jewels. And armlet or a clasp for hair versus earrings and tablets. And we see atonement for us. We have brought our gift to make atonement for us versus atonement for our souls. Just a slight difference, but it's an atonement. Verse 52, we have an omission, all the wrought gold. So it is not just simply gold in its purest form and like nuggets. No, this is worked gold. This is gold that has been modified to be worked. It's a workmanship of a man, has been modified by by man's devices, perhaps by sculpting or whatnot. However, they will tinker with it. Verse 53, we're going to ignore this verse. Verse 54, the vessels of it, or I should say the vessels, and brought the vessels into the tabernacle versus it, and brought it. So it's not saying what it is, but these are vessels, um, meaning the gold. So they took the gold from the captains and brought the vessels. So these could be two different things. Could be gold and vessels, two separate things. However, the Masoretic seems to make them one and the same. The gold, bringing it into the tabernacle, but it seems in the Septuagint it's saying no, it's vessels that were brought in. And the last difference we notice is a memorial of the children of Israel. So this is the gold and the vessels brought in to the tabernacle, a memorial of the children of Israel. So it's from them before Yah. But the Masoretic seems to imply that this is a memorial for the children of Israel. So these vessels, this gold is actually for them, not for Yah. No, this is actually for Yah. I believe it's an offering for him. That's why they took the gold from the captains, from these superiors, and they brought the vessels into the tabernacle of witness, a memorial from the children of Israel to Yah, not a memorial for them that they're supposed to own before Yah. No, it is now belongs to Yah, or at least to the service of the tabernacle. That's the way I read it anyhow. So that's all I have for this chapter, Numbers 31. Thank you very much for your time. May Yah bless you and make your way prosperous. Until next time, you've been watching Secrets Revealed, the Holy Bible. Shalom and peace be unto you.